My fiancé proposed to my sister. Everyone thought I'd lose it. Even my parents told me to back off from my sister. But surprise, surprise, I calmly gave my blessings. And guess what? I announced my engagement to David, a dude from a filthy rich family. Oops. Enough with the drama. I'm switching to a life of bliss. Today was supposed to be my engagement party with Felix. But Felix was nowhere to be found. Couldn't reach him by phone either. His parents were just as clueless. The room was buzzing with gossip. I grabbed the mic from the waiter, raised my glass and said, "Sorry folks. I guess my fiancé must be dealing with something important." Didn't finish that thought. Felix showed up hand in hand with my sister Molly. They interrupted right at the door. "Truly sorry." Felix let go of Molly's hand and, looking all serious, pulled her into a hug. He walked up to me, hand extended. "Sorry about this." I put down my glass, gave him the mic, and stepped back. Felix nodded at me and faced everyone with a regretful look. "Everyone, and Carrie, I'm really sorry. Our engagement is off. Today. I want everyone here to witness. The only person I ever wanted to marry is her." He turned to Molly, dropped to one knee, and asked sincerely, "Molly, will you marry me?" Molly didn't reply. She looked at me, and then down at Felix as tears rolled down. It was obvious she felt terrible snatching her sister's engagement party like this. But Felix kept holding her hand, trying to reassure her. The guests, ready to leave, paused to watch. Whispers started spreading. Weren't these two families supposed to be engaged for ages? Now it's someone else? Molly hardly ever shows up, but what an entrance. Wasn't Felix into Carrie before? Carrie won't make a fuss, right? Who knows? It's not like they're married yet. No matter the place or people, gossip seems to be a universal trait. I smiled with sincerity, urging Molly, "Hey sis, what are you waiting for? Say yes." To my surprise, she cried harder, shaking her head, lips shut tight. Felix couldn't hold it anymore. He turned to me and growled, "Carrie, stop torturing Molly. Any issues, take it up with me. She's innocent." I was like, what's that got to do with me? I couldn't resist throwing in a jab. "You're crazy." The atmosphere got tense for a bit. My friends rushed over, afraid I'd cause a scene, trying to drag me out. "Carrie, don't be upset, we'll talk later." "Carrie, you okay? Let's go take a break." Even my parents, Jason and Becky, came over, patting my shoulder. "Your sister has always given way to you. She just wants Felix. Just be considerate for once. Let her have him." Wow, nothing left for me to say. You've said it all. I sighed, waved them off. "All right, enough from you guys. Let me have a word." I asked for another mic, pushing past my friends. Not far away, Molly was crouched down, crying into Felix's chest. With everyone's eyes on me, I stepped closer, speaking clearly into the nearby speakers. "With all my heart, I wish my sister and Felix all the happiness." Molly lifted her head from Felix's hug, eyes red, about to cry more. "Carrie, not in the mood for her act." I cleared my throat, continued, "I'd also love to invite everyone." Mid-sentence, the ballroom doors swung open, and someone walked in slowly. People moved aside, murmurings erupted. "Isn't that David? What's he doing here?" "Damn, David came to watch too." I went over, linked my arm with his, smiling. "Invite you all to my and David's engagement party on the 21st of next month." Silence fell over the room. Unlike their families, who coasted on their ancestors' success, David's family had a long, prestigious legacy in politics. And David, at 20, turned to business, dominating the local economy in just 5 years. A true young mogul from a top-tier family. Nobody dared to cross this prince, except for my ever-concerned for me sister. Molly, now standing with Felix's support, looked shocked. "Carrie, don't joke about this. We can't afford such jokes." I tilted my head, confused. "Joke? What joke?" Felix hugged her, protecting her. "Carrie, today's on me. Name your compensation. But don't mess with his family." My dad, Jason, finally caught up, pushed through the crowd, worriedly pulling me. "Carrie, don't be rash. Do you even know who this is?" Before I could respond, David stepped back with me. Jason followed, still apologizing, trying to grab me. "David, my younger daughter didn't mean to offend." "Jason, I think you're missing something." David frowned, showing displeasure. I handed him the mic. He slightly lowered his head and said calmly, "Since Carrie's invited you all, you're very welcome to our engagement party on the 21st of next month." Pausing, he took the mic. "And also wishes to Molly and Felix. May they find happiness." He let the mic drop, making a loud thud that echoed, like a final stamp of approval resonating throughout the room. Knock. The room went silent for a moment, then erupted into chatter. All around, younger guys and girls couldn't stop talking. We thought Carrie had it bad, but something feels off, doesn't it? I mean, seems like Felix switching fiancés was a last-minute decision, but Carrie was ready for it. I missed it earlier, but Carrie is from the Gardens. That's their name? I'm telling you, we're just pawns in their game. All the chatter wasn't quiet, and it caught David's attention. He seemed to enjoy it, turning his head slightly with a bit of approval, giving the speaking crowd a nod. As I followed his gaze, those few seemed even more excited. What's up with you all acting like you're shipping a couple hard? Aren't you supposed to be high society? I sighed, raising a hand to pat David on the back, who was showing off like a peacock. Tone it down. By the next day, the headlines exploded. News of my engagement to David, with his approval, was known all over town. On my phone, Jason had been hitting me up since yesterday afternoon. He kept asking how I got tangled up with David, kept questioning if I was trying to mess things up for him, like it was something I should mess with. Then, after seeing the headlines this morning, his sharp accusation turned to this. Carrie, you gotta really impress David. The future of our family depends on you now. Depends on me? I tapped my finger on the last line of the message, finding it quite funny. Jason's never had the skill to run the business. It's mostly been Felix helping out all these years. So for the past 20 years, the future of our family definitely rested on Felix's shoulders. That's why, when they found out about Felix messing around with Molly, they quickly ditched me. My parents always had a thing for my weak and sickly sister, and couldn't wait to get her hitched well. But back then, Felix wouldn't stop chasing after me, so they couldn't force a switch. Now that Felix is with my sister, they got what they wanted. Just as I was thinking that, David came over with a plate of fruit, sitting next to me. What's on your mind? I picked up a grape, sighing dramatically. Biased parents, a drama queen sister, a faithless fiancé, and poor innocent me. David took my hand with the grape, and brought it to his mouth. He copied my tone and sighed sigh. My poor fiancé almost got bullied. Oh right, this fruit-stealing guy knows a lot about my background. Guess my attempt at acting pitiful failed. They want me to charm you. I grabbed another grape and offered it to him. Here, let me charm you. David took it effortlessly, speaking lazily. Do you think they'll wait a few days for a son-in-law like me? Since David and I are getting engaged, it's natural for both families to meet. Besides, they finally get a chance to butter up to David. They wouldn't miss the opportunity to gain some benefits. It's just a matter of how long they can hold off on approaching this big fish without startling it. I continued feeding him, guessing a week maybe? David turned his head, certain a day. The next day, David got stuck small talking in my parents' living room, while I headed back to my room to pack up and move into David's place. The door opened, and Molly came in carrying a cup of coffee, smiling warmly. Carrie, I ground this coffee myself for you to try. I glanced at the varied kiss marks around her collarbone. Molly wasn't even bothering to cover up anymore. Really impressive, sis. Molly hesitated at the doorway but stayed smiling. Oh? What's wrong? I set aside the clothes I was holding and grabbed my phone off the table, turning it off in front of her, and tossing it onto the bed. Hand over your phone. Molly hesitated. What are you doing? I blinked, giving her a choice, turn it off or walk out. After a moment, the phone in Molly's bag that was recording got shut off. She closed the door too. Molly dropped her smile, speaking coldly. I was curious since yesterday, how you managed to snag David. Seems like you do have some tricks up your sleeve. I shrugged. These tricks? Not as good as yours. In our family, our parents especially treated Molly, who was born prematurely, like fragile glass. She couldn't run or jump, and couldn't even leave the house for fear of harm. After being so pampered, she developed quite a dark side. Starting around 5, she picked on me, trying to take things she felt should be hers. Things like extra attention from our parents, approval from teachers and peers, and my fiancé Felix. She used all kinds of tactics like playing sick, acting pitiful, and throwing dirt. She did, in fact, manage to take plenty from me with these acts. Even though I found most of them trivial, she always made a big show out of her wins. Maybe she thought of herself as super successful. Thinking of this, I silently smirked, a small laugh escaping. Ignoring my comment, Molly took the coffee to her lips, casually sipping it. I spent 15 minutes grinding this, it's good. You sure you don't want to taste? I echoed her sentiment, yeah, shame. For a few seconds, the room was quiet. She set down the coffee. You can't marry David. Why not? You're not good enough for him. I nodded and asked back, oh, are you? Molly's eyes flickered with panic at being called out. But she still tried to cover her intentions, pretending to give me sincere advice. David's out of your league, I'm looking out for you. Oh, the good old looking out for me line. I sat on the bed, pretending to think deeply for a moment. Is it that I'm not worthy? Or do you just want him for yourself? Felix wasn't enough? Molly reflexively replied, Felix and I are truly in love. Then she paused, realizing something was off. She looked at me wide-eyed. Did you say you let me? My silly sister. I smiled, raising a finger, pretending to count. Didn't you claim true love between you and Felix? Let's see, when did it start? Was it the engagement party 2 days ago? Or all those secret meetings over the years? Or that night after college exams? Knock. Slam. The thud of something heavy hitting the floor, and the sound of a ceramic cup shattering startled the 3 people downstairs. They hurried upstairs to see what was going on. Molly was slumped on the floor in my room, clutching her stomach and wincing in pain. Her white loungewear was stained with coffee, and the shattered cup lay next to her. I just sat there in front of her, watching indifferently. This scene pained our mom. She rushed to Molly, anxious and worried, helping her up. What happened? What's going on? Molly, are you okay? Molly opened her eyes weakly, tears streaming down her face. It hurts, Mom. Don't blame Carrie. I just lost my balance. She didn't push me. Heartbroken for her eldest daughter, Becky looked furious. She was always concerned about maintaining the image of a lady of elegance. She didn't even care about the coffee on her hands as she pointed straight at me. Carrie, she's your sister. And she's carrying your nephew. How dare you push her? Getting more agitated, she almost got up, intending to slap me. But her legs gave out, and she ended up kneeling on Molly. Molly's crying paused for a moment. I held in the urge to laugh, keeping my expression in check. When people get embarrassed, they often try to look busy. Becky hurriedly moved off Molly, tears falling as she held Molly, yelling at my dad, Jason. What are you standing there for? Call a doctor. It's a sin, just a sin, Jason. Snapped back to reality by the shouting. Was frantically about to go downstairs to call for help. But David stood in the doorway, blocking him, and said calmly, hold on. Jason froze, both anxious and fearful. David, what are you doing? David just nodded in my direction. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. I slowly stood up from my seat, clapping my hands softly. You know what? My sister's best performance all these years is this one right here. But unfortunately today it's time for the curtain call. Becky didn't understand what I was doing. Worried about Molly, she shouted at me, her voice breaking a little. What nonsense are you spouting? Why are you stopping your dad from getting the doctor? Do you want to harm your sister and her unborn child? I furrowed my brows, covering my ears, and looked to David for help. He raised his hand, rapping his knuckle on the door to signal her to quiet down. Becky, don't worry. The last person in this room who wants something to happen to Molly isn't you. What? David stayed silent and I took over. If anything happens to Molly in my room, it costs me my whole life. I'm not that much of a martyr. Becky looked down at the devastated Molly in her arms, then back at me, confused. What are you trying to do? I picked up 2 phones from the bed, then went to the desk and grabbed David's phone hidden behind some books. I showed them the recording screen. Molly's crying stopped instantly, and I caught the obvious panic and fear flickering in her eyes. Our parents also held their breath, sensing something was off. My room had never been this quiet before. I didn't drag it out any longer. I turned on the projector and linked it to David's phone, starting the video from the beginning. In the video's initial minutes, I was the only one in the room folding clothes. Then Molly came in holding a cup of coffee. A few more minutes passed. I asked Molly, let me guess, when did it start being true love between you and Felix? Was it at the engagement party a few days ago? Or all those secret meetings over the years? Or the night after college entrance exams ended? Molly's face turned pale immediately. She took a couple of steps towards me, seething. What nonsense are you talking about? In the video, you could clearly hear my reply. Hotel room 107 on the 10th floor. I even helped you delete the footage of you two all over each other in that hallway. After hearing that, Molly turned around, picked up the coffee, and splashed it on herself. Her voice was cold, dripping with jealousy and spite. So what? That's what you owe me. Then, without even blinking, she smashed the coffee cup hard on the ground, skillfully avoiding the shards, and lay down, clutching her stomach and gasping. The noise brought everyone upstairs to open the door. The last few seconds of the video showed me walking towards the camera. The room fell into silence once again as the video ended. Becky's face froze, the pain turning into disbelief. Molly, you? Why? Jason's face turned red. He's prided himself on being a gentleman all his life, never raising his voice. But now he couldn't help but angrily berate Molly. What are you doing? Molly's tears kept flowing, and she shook her head, panicked, gripping Becky's hand tightly, so tight her knuckles were white. I just. Stop. I clapped my hands, cutting off their act. I'm just here to present the reality of things to everyone. I'm not interested in what happens next. David and I have things to do, so we'll be off. My words seemed to snap Molly out of it. She stood up, ignoring the shattered cup at her feet, trying to grab me. Carrie, you're doing this on purpose. You're trying to ruin me, take everything from me. You just want to hurt me. But before she could make a move, Becky stood up with her and yanked her back. Whack. Molly stood there stunned, disbelief written all over her eyes. Becky withdrew her hand, looking at the slowly appearing mark on Molly's cheek with pained eyes, muttering, "How did you become like this?" Molly was floored by the slap. Slowly, she raised a hand to her face, crying, staring at Becky, her default being deflection and playing the victim. You hit me for her? Mom, you've forgotten how many times I've endured everything for her all these years. I gave her everything. All I wanted was Felix. What did I do wrong? Becky faltered for a moment, her hand gripping Molly's, shaking. Mom just saw what you did just now. Molly shook her off, sneering. Saw what I did just now? I was only protecting my love in my own way. Mom, what about you? Are you really going to just side with Carrie without knowing all the facts? Becky shook her head, like she was about to say something. I couldn't hold it in and interrupted. All right. Big sis, you're always right. But I have just one question. Everyone in the room looked at me. I turned to Molly. Is this your first time getting slapped? How did it feel? Molly's face turned visibly blue, mixed with the red handprint on her cheek, making her look pretty funny. I laughed out loud. If you've got no words to share, that's fine. We've seen enough of the show. It's about time we headed out. The rest is up to them to deal with. I wasn't interested in sticking around any longer. Molly was ordered by Jason to go to her room. Jason and Becky awkwardly escorted David and me to the door. Just as I was getting in the car, Becky held onto the door and tugged at my sleeve. Carrie. I kept quiet while David, squinting, yanked me into the car and leaned over slightly, speaking earnestly. Becky, if Molly ever thinks about getting into showbiz, she can give me a call. He paused, dragging his tone with a light tease. After all, her talent seems out of the ordinary to me. Becky froze, hands clenched, staying silent. I glanced up at her, then looked away, waving a low-key goodbye. We're off, Mom. Somehow, that mom seemed to soothe Becky, and she forced a smile, waving back at me. All right. As the car door shut, the window blocked out the pain in her eyes. I finally exhaled. A late enlightenment is always late, I guess. Growing up, Molly pulled this kind of stunt way too many times. Since she was a kid, how could a child hide so well without a single mistake? But parents' hearts were biased from the start, with eyes and ears only open to what they wanted to see and hear. That entails ignoring my calls for help while supporting Molly, the seemingly more vulnerable victim, countless times. Thankfully, it's all in the past. And thankfully, I just stopped caring a long time ago. Back at David's house, I was ready to catch some extra shut-eye. A minor mishap last night had left me drained. Jason couldn't wait a single day. Once he confirmed the wedding with David was real, he couldn't resist calling, ordering us to bring David over for dinner the very next day. Everyone knew what that dinner was really about. I wasn't going to ruin my appetite at the table, so I dragged David over first thing in the morning, hoping to skip lunchtime. Thankfully, Molly didn't let me down. Her performance gave us a chance to slip out early. The spring sun was just right, perfect for a nap. But as soon as I lay down, someone restless sidled up. Tired, buried under the covers, my voice came out muffled. Yeah. In the next second, I felt the bed dip beside me as David pulled me into his arms. Forced out of the blanket, I found myself face to face with his perfectly handsome features. You won't go back on your bet from yesterday, right? Bet. Oh, the bet about how long my parents would tolerate him as their son-in-law. I had boasted they could last a week. But, remembering what I'd promised, my ears involuntarily burned. Can we not talk about this in broad daylight? David squinted, a hint of playful threat in his voice. You won't go back on it, right? Of course not. Before I could finish, David sealed my words with his lips, swallowing them whole. I've never been able to resist David's kisses. When he finally let me go, my eyes brimmed with tears from shortness of breath. I'm tired, really tired. David nestled closer, lightly nibbling on my lower lip. I'll nap with you. Breathless, I feebly pushed him away. Go to your side. David obediently lay down beside me, sighing softly. Get some sleep. Rest well. And enjoy the show later. 3 days later, Felix announced he wanted to hold an engagement party with Molly. Invitations were sent to David. David slapped the invite into my hand, raising an eyebrow with a playful grin. Let's go watch the show. So that's what he meant by a show. I smiled, taking the invitation. Now this should be interesting. Outside the venue, the Maybach pulled up. David got out, walked around the front, and opened the door for me. I reached out, took his arm, and walked in with him. This engagement party had a bigger venue, more thought put into it, and they even invited some media. I glanced around and commented, true love, huh? This sure put more effort than my own party. David surveyed the scene, chuckling. And this is considered effort? I grinned back, placating him, just average. The place was packed with people. Elite kids and suited-up CEOs mingled, chatting over drinks. Not to mention the well-dressed celebrities and influencers hanging around. But most of these people weren't the kind you could invite with a snap of their fingers. I felt puzzled. Could there be some recent buzz with the two families that I'm missing? Thankfully, my question was soon answered. The moment David and I entered, we gradually drew most of the attention from the gathered crowd. Not far away, someone was already eyeing us, ready to approach David with a wine glass. I patted David's arm. Looks like they tagged along because of you. With his wealth, looks, and background, David stood out as a prince. Ever since making a name for himself in town these past few years, he kept a clean slate with zero scandals, and didn't care for social events. Suddenly popping out with a mysterious fiancé piqued everyone's curiosity. After some digging, knowing it was me, and with Molly being my only biological sister having her engagement, it made sense for me to show up. So people were betting, what if I brought David along too? This might be one of their rare chances to meet him. Not far off, Felix emerged from the crowd, holding a drink, beaming at us. Carry David. A waiter passed by with 2 glasses of wine. I took one, giving him a nod of acknowledgement, raising it back. Cheers. As for what kind of blessings, well, that's hard to say. Felix didn't mind David ignoring him. He just nodded, took a sip of his drink, and turned back to the crowd. I found a table to set down my glass. When I turned back, I saw David surrounded by a few familiar business execs. No peace, seriously. I located a corner to do my best to ignore the pair of eyes watching me. I casually swirled my drink, nibbled on a small cake, and took sips of wine every now and then. When most of the guests had arrived, I put the glass down and rested my head on the table, pretending to be asleep. Sure enough, the person watching me couldn't hold back any longer, and came over to support me. Miss, are you all right? Let me help you upstairs to rest. I closed my eyes and smirked silently. Looks like the real drama is about to start. The maid took me to a room, gently stripped off my clothes, and kindly covered me halfway with a blanket before closing the door and leaving. Once everything was quiet, I sat up, feeling my way to the dress by the bed, and put it on in the dark. The room was so dim and quiet, and my phone was taken by the maid. I tried to adjust to the darkness as I wandered around the room. So clean and tidy, no closet, no hiding places, and the only door likely wouldn't be an option to escape. Giving up on hiding, I sat down on the sofa by the window, rubbing my sore shoulders. What surprise do you think she'll give me? A tiny electronic noise came from the left earring. Then David's cold voice followed. You can expect something for sure. She's not going to be nice one bit. I got up, pulled the blanket around me, and went back to the sofa. That's a rather sad conclusion. David scoffed. Yeah, so sad it's funny. I chuckled, not responding. I was genuinely curious about what surprise Molly had in store for me today. Noises came from the door. I instinctively tightened my grip on the blanket, looking over. The door was slowly pushed open, and the hallway's light felt blindingly bright, causing me to squint. I could faintly see two figures entering and moving around quietly. They seemed to be undressing. A raspy male voice urged, "Hurry up, take the photos and get out." Another lower male voice, all anxious, "I know. They didn't turn on the lights," and I could barely make out figures groping towards the bed. I shrunk further into the blanket and began counting down in my mind. They fumbled around the bed, not finding anyone. "Where's she?" "No one here." "Said she'd be on the bed, right?" "Turn on the lights and check." I continued the countdown, and when time was up, the door was opened and light poured into the room. I quickly covered my eyes with the blanket, not wanting to see anything I shouldn't. With the sound of a switch being flicked on, David spoke icily, "Oh, two gents hanging out here, snapping some artistic nudes?" The two men in the room were quickly dragged to the door by David's people. I was pulled from the blanket by David, carried out of the room. Two men, just hastily putting on waiter outfits, kneeled at the door, one with a small camera around his neck. Turning to David, I asked, "Who sent you?" They exchanged glances for a few seconds before speaking. "It was Molly. She wanted us to take some scandalous photos of you, specifically requesting your full face be visible." "Carrie, we were just doing a job. Might you and David?" I smiled politely and walked away. "David, call the police." Molly had become accustomed to being above me for the last 20 years. That day when I threw her off balance at home, making her move out that very night, there's no way she'd let it go and leave me in peace. As expected, she showed no kindness to me. Downstairs, the wedding banquet was in full swing. At the end of the runway, a big screen was displaying Felix and Molly's childhood sweetheart moments. Oddly enough, many scenes included me, and some photos were taken when Felix was courting me. Who knows when Molly found an excuse to capture those moments with him, now turned into their exclusive sweet memories. Quite amusing. In a side corner on stage, the pianist played the wedding march, wrapping the venue in melodic blessings. David followed behind me, wrapping his arms around. "She should appreciate your return gift." Looking down at Molly's beaming smile, I sighed. I wasn't planning on giving her anything. It's a shame my sister has always been naive, insisting on blazing forward without considering leaving an out for herself. Maybe it was my indulgence over the years, making her so foolish. The photos on the big screen transitioned to their engagement shots. The host gestured for Molly and Felix to step onto the stage. Holding hands, they walked over, smiled at each other, and turned to the crowd about to speak. Right then, from the speakers beside the big screen, came the recording of my conversation with David. It wasn't bright, but the voices were clear. It was my recent low-voice query to David's earring bug. "What surprise do you think she'll bring me?" Leading up to when one waiter-ish man revealed, "Molly had us photograph you misbehaving with another man, and specifically asked for your full face." On stage, Molly's face turned ashen as she dragged Felix to shut off the monitors. "Who's controlling this? Shut it down. What's all this? Turn it all off." But it was too late. David's team had moved in, blocking the path to the projector room. The big screen kept playing. Next scene. In my room, showing me packing as Molly walked in with a coffee cup. A few days ago, the coffee cup shattered again. The video ended once more as I approached the lens. The room erupted in shock. Molly was on the ground, drained and in tears, with Felix kneeling beside her, looking stunned. I leaned back into David's arms, releasing the railing. I almost forgot. What's in the next video? The screen went dark with my words, and after 3 seconds, Molly's voice came on before the image. "I really like this trophy, Carrie." The image gradually cleared, showing a much younger Molly holding and examining a crystal trophy with my name, Carrie, as the recipient. That was my trophy. In the video, I sat on the couch ignoring Molly. She smashed the trophy at her feet, exclaiming, "Sorry, Carrie, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have said anything, don't be mad." Then Jason and Becky came in, shielding Molly. Molly seemed to soften, defending me. "It's not Carrie's fault. I was too curious about the trophy. Carrie didn't mean to hit me with it. Don't be mad, Mom and Dad." Her words fueled the fire instead. Becky looked at me with disappointment, saying, "How could I have a daughter like you? She's your sister." The video continued as cameras flashed, and the media live-streamed the event in the banquet hall. Guests edged back, whispering, "Oh my God, are they real sisters? Are those her real parents?" Felix seems clueless. But wasn't Felix engaged to Carrie before switching to Molly? Could it be Molly's jealousy of her sister, even taking her fiancé? The murmurs drowned out one of the video's stars. A celebration turned into a trial for her. Molly sat there, clinging to Felix's arm, hoping he'd help her escape. But Felix, appearing shocked, stayed rooted until Molly pushed him aside. With Jason and Becky occupied by the crowd, Molly feigned fainting, disturbing the guests who backed away. It got chaotic again. David tapped a microphone, his rich voice filling the room. "Ladies and gentlemen." People looked around, finally seeing David and me on the second floor. He handed me the mic. I glanced at the screen, speaking calmly. I hope today's show didn't disappoint. Then I looked at Molly, whose makeup was ruined as she pretended to stay unconscious. I wondered aloud if my sister was satisfied. Molly, the sister coddled, self-important yet naive, was finally shaken by Felix and looked up at me frantically. "Carrie, is it you? Have you lost it? You're pushing me." I finished her thought. "Pushing you to your death?" Molly stood there baffled. "What?" I chuckled, genuinely amused. "Isn't this what you've been telling me for the past 20 years? Every time I achieved something, Molly pulled me aside. I'm so envious, Carrie. You're healthy, vibrant, achieving honors. I'm happy for you. But Carrie, why do you get everything when we're both mom's daughters? I'm miserable, stuck at home with restrictions." She'd break my trophies, rip my accolades, saying, "You're so good you take everything," making my existence feel wrong. "You're always driving me to death, Carrie." But it was all talk. She didn't treat me like family, more like a rival. I sighed. Molly, with your attitude, why do you think I'd be a good sister?" Sometimes I do wonder about having a sharp piece of glass too. The live stream continued at the venue's edge. I swallowed my words, pausing. After all, it's my sister's engagement party. David's secretary brought over a box to Jason and Becky. I softened my tone. I had a different gift planned. Inside was the title to a villa and a contract. Someone exclaimed, "Isn't that David's resort?" Yes, it was David's, and not something easily bought or stayed in. What a generous gesture from Carrie. Just as Jason reached for it, the box closed. I smiled apologetically. This was a gift. Now it must serve as a consolation. "It's rightfully yours." The box was handed to Jason's secretary. Becky, tears streaming without me acknowledging her, whispered, "Carrie." I ignored her regret, focusing on Molly instead, echoing my childhood apologies in sincere tones. "Sister, I'm sorry. This kind of situation is not gonna happen again. I once apologized because as a kid, I valued the bond with my sister. I decided to give up my honor to protect her sensitive and fragile heart. Now I'm apologizing because I genuinely messed up what she called her lifelong pursuit of happiness. My entanglement with her ends here. The engagement party was a total flop. David and I made headlines again. The stuff swept under the rug from the last engagement party got dug up, though the narrative's a bit off. Carrie suspected of having a script without proof. That line, "What kind of good sister would I be then?" just made me feel relieved. Evidence in hand, hitting the mark. It's like a sensational novel. Little White Rabbit's revenge story. Nah, it's all villains here. Am I the only one noticing David indulging her so much? She's acting out, and he's just laughing? Unreal. Oh my gosh, I totally think the same. My parents called me countless times, and I ignored them all. But I did meet an annoying guy when the police came to investigate the photo incident. Felix looked all defeated. After the engagement party, Jason's company took a nosedive, and of course, Felix got affected as he totally should. After all, he never was the hard-working, capable type. Molly ended up in the hospital. I raised a hand, signaling him to stop, ready to shut the door and kick him out. "Cut it, go back." But Felix blocked the door. "Carrie, it wasn't on purpose. On the day of the college entrance exam, I wanted to confess to you. I got drunk. I don't know why it ended up being Molly. I stayed behind the door, not wanting to even look at him. So that's what you care about. You've had enough, Felix. Not even counting how many times you've messed around these years." I stretched out my words. "Did you ever wonder why Molly was the one to see you that night?" Felix gripped the door harder, looking at me in disbelief. "What do you mean by that?" I stepped back, let out a sarcastic laugh. "The drug in your drink was put there by someone I arranged. The text inviting me out, I let Molly see it on purpose. And the room you two messed around in, I arranged that for you both. You? Why? We had an engagement, we were. I raised my hand again, waving dismissively, clearly unhappy. Why can't you get it? I'm truly baffled why you've clung to me since forever. Felix froze on the spot. Memories of dodging him countless times as a teenager came flooding back. He looked heartbroken, almost shattered. I liked you so much. And what does that have to do with me? I sneered. Don't you get it? I've hated you from the start. I never liked you. The thought of having to marry you kept me up at night. Being forced into the role of Felix's fiancé and stuck by him was the worst time of my life. I just handed you back to Molly, like I always said I would. I wish you both a happy ending. After the engagement, their families broke ties, and the engagement was completely shattered. To avoid being dragged down, the companies cut ties just in time, and Felix's company was barely affected. But one already infested with rot collapsed overnight. Jason and Becky disappeared from the public eye. Molly was diagnosed with mild delusions and severe depression, and stayed at a countryside sanatorium. David brought back the 2 wedding presents given away at the party untouched. Jason's house got seized, and David bought the company. Facing hefty compensation, with no way out, they used the villa I gave as collateral, repaying the kindness of raising me. The bond of sisterhood is hard to sever. This is the only gift I've given them, and their last avenue. Settling old scores, I finally have some downtime. Little did I expect. Invitations from wealthy families started piling in for me to visit. But we all know their real intentions. They're interested in the man behind me. Thankfully, David turned them all down for me, taking me back to the old family house. In the house, on a steady-colored sofa, David's grandmother with a head full of silver hair glared at me. Oh, who's this girl? I don't recognize her. She said this while tapping her cup on the table, turning her head away from me. I hurried over, holding on to her. Grandma, it's me, Carrie. Look at me again. I refuse to believe you don't recognize me. Who's Carrie? I don't recognize you at all. David's grandma snorted, still not looking at me. I moved to her other side, affectionately holding her. You must recognize me. Grandma always said she liked me the most. Don't be mad, Grandma. I was just busy dealing with some annoying folks these past few days. But now I'll have more time to be with you. After the explanation, Grandma affectionately held my hand, turning to glare at David. Carrie's in trouble, and you don't even bother to help? David shrugged and plopped down on a single couch nearby. Doesn't look like she needs my help. Just then, David's father came downstairs, his unmatched dignity visible even in casual clothes, like a sheathed ancient sword. Though standing taller, he had a soft look in his eyes with a playful tone. Carrie's been quite the sensation lately. The punk might not even be able to help. I looked up with a shy smile, feeling a bit bashful. Uncle, you're here too. Your aunt heard you were coming, and insisted I bring her over early. In a simple but elegant dress, David's mom followed behind his dad downstairs, her tone gentle. It's me. I just thought we'd have a family meal. It's a good time for Carrie to come with me to check out some engagement dresses. Grandma heard this and gently patted my head. Without realizing it, the little girl has grown up. I nodded along with the pressure of her palm, feeling a bit emotional too. Yeah. From when I first met David at 15, it's been 10 years now. Compared to that gloomy house, this old home feels more like my real home. On the day of my engagement party with David at the rooftop, everything David had secretly and meticulously prepared was finally before me. I lifted my skirt and pushed the door open. There were no guests filling the room, no media surrounding us. White roses imported from all over the world covered the entire venue, and at the end of the red carpet on the stage, it was just our families. David's mom leaned on his dad, holding a small gift box. Grandma held a microphone, her voice kind and gentle, drifting with the wind. Carrie, welcome home. David led me closer, and had me take the box from his mother's hands. I opened it. A jade bracelet, smooth and completely green, wrapped around my wrist. Carrie, welcome home. Tears fell from my eyes. I was speechless for a moment. How lucky I am to have met and known David in our youth. 10 years have passed. Everything falls into place. The end.